Welcome to my first ever video tutorial. I will be starting with something very simple, how to make a weighted storage cube. The weighted storage cube is not to be confused with the weighted companion cube. You know, the one with the heart on it. This tutorial assumes you have a basic understanding of how to navigate and control the Valve Hammer editor, as well as how to create prefabs, and where to place the prefab files, though this may not be completely necessary to know. If you don't get something, that may be why. So let's get started. First we need to place an entity, so go ahead and select the Entity Creation tool by pressing Shift-E or by clicking the fourth icon down on the left that looks like a light bulb. Select Prop_Physics from the drop-down menu. Now click on the document origin in one of the 2D windows. Press Enter, creating the entity. The origin of the document is always where the two blue lines intersect. Now make sure you switch to the Selection tool. Now we can't see it yet because the camera in our 3D window is inside the helper. So let's zoom out a little. Now that we can see the entity's helper, let's double click it to bring up its properties. Now that we're in the properties, click World Model and then click Browse. Now let's type the filter metal_box, as that's the file name of the object we want to create. Now select the file props/metal_box.mdl. You can see on the right side that it's the model we want. To use it, double-click the file name or click the OK button at the bottom of the window. Now we're going to name our object Weighted Storage Cube. Keep in mind the editor does not like object names with spaces, so we'll use underscores instead of spaces. Because this is going to be a prefab, we want to be able to use it for anything, so we're going to use a token. Just add &I to the end of the name. What this will do is when we place the prefab into a map, the token will be replaced by an auto-incremented number every time we place a new instance of the prefab. This will cause every object to have a different name. This comes in very handy when we're doing more advanced things with it than just placing it into a map, because we can put lots of them into a map and do not have to change each cube's name manually. Now hit Apply to commit our changes to the object, and then close the dialog. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit to give us a better view of the cube. Now let's actually create a prefab file to include into our map files. Make sure the cube is selected and then click the Create Prefab button. Now name it Weighted Storage Cube, and remember not to use spaces, so let's use underscores instead. Then let's save our brand new prefab file. A note, however, it is very bad practice to save over an existing prefab file, as the editor does not like that and can act up when you do so. That's all there is to it. So now that our weighted storage cube is complete, I'm going to go ahead and create a test level for us so that we can test out our prefab. I'm going to go ahead and use Movie Magic and speed up the playback.
This was a triumph. I'm making a note here, huge success. It's hard to overstate my satisfaction. Aperture science. We do what we must because we can. For the good of all of us, except the ones who are dead. But there's no sense crying over every mistake. You just keep on trying till you run out of options.
So now that I've finished creating those prefabs, I'm going to go ahead and create a new file. and making sure the prefab tool is selected, I'm gonna go into my prefabs and select the new room I've made. Place it at the origin. Still in my prefabs folder, I'll go ahead and create my starting player prefab. I'll be creating tutorials on making both of these prefabs. As you can see, it's a simple room with a spawn point. So, after selecting my weighted storage cube, I'm going to go ahead and just click inside the 3D viewer and create 3 different objects directly onto the floor surface. As you can see, all 3 of the objects are halfway embedded inside the floor surface, which is a problem. So I'm going to have to go ahead and click each one of them and raise them up. Now I'll show you how to fix this problem later so that you can just place the cubes directly onto the surface without having to worry. And as you can see, I didn't do a perfect job. They're slightly off the floor, but that's okay because they'll fall when we spawn the map. Here you can see that that token has been replaced with a 1 and a 2, and the last one will be a 3 as well. So each one has a unique identifier. This is very useful in scripting when we want to, for example, either create an object or destroy an object. Or maybe we want to be able to teleport a specific object. With the cube, this isn't going to be as important because we're not really going to be doing scripting based on the cube itself. But in general practice with prefabs, it's a really good idea to do this. So right now I'm naming the file so that we can import it into our game. A simple name is fine. Then I'm going to go ahead and open up the Run Map dialog, making sure that the Do Not Run Game After Compiling option is set. I'm going to go ahead and compile. And once that's finished, I'm going to go ahead and launch it up in the game. Okay, so here we are in the game. And we're going to go ahead and launch our map. So type in map and then a space and then the name of your map file. And here's our map loaded up. And we just go on over to the cube and you can see we can pick it up just like you could a normal cube. If you're too far away it doesn't work. You can stack them on top of each other. You can send them through portals. In short, they basically work exactly like we would expect the cubes to function. You can pick them up, drop them through a portal, push them through a portal. Okay, so now on to the next part where we discuss how to make the cubes be created sitting flat against the ground.